Hi everybody, this is Bea Marshall, founder of Yes Parenting, and I am very excited today. I am interviewing Mary Sabo, who is a mind body coach and singing yogi, and she's based over in America, in New York City, and also in the Hamptons. So hi Mary.
Good morning, Bea. How are you?
I am super well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be with you this morning.
And you're actually in New York City right now, which for me is very exciting. It's one of my favorite cities in the world.
Yeah, I am actually in New York City. Normally I'm not. Especially right now as we start summer in the Hamptons, I am here for 2 days and I'm actually going back out to Southampton today, but it is really cool in the city in the summer.
Yeah, definitely. And really hot, I imagine.
Really hot and really smelly.
So I'm interviewing Mary today because Mary is coming into my membership group, Yes Parenting for Happy Families, as a guest expert. And I cannot wait. Just to let everyone know, it's possible that someone might come into the room and walk behind Mary in a little bit. We're not going to worry about that. We are going to carry on. So
yes.
Mary is passionate about helping women access their personal state of flow, by which she means the optimal state of consciousness where we feel our best and we perform our best, and then to help them bridge the gap between their bodies and their minds. Now, I love this because ever since I was about 15, when I first discovered homeopathy, that was for me, was when I really started to realize that there was this body-mind connection. And over the next, so that was when I was 15, gosh, so that's quite a lot of years actually that have passed. That's nearly 25 years ago. Woo! Anyway, over those last 25 years, I have, is that right? 15 to 38, that is 23 years, isn't it?
I'm looking at you going, you look so good.
Thank you. So, for me, this concept of this mind-body connection has kind of just grown and developed. And in the last few years, I've started to understand more about this concept of flow and being in this kind of like optimal state of consciousness. But can you tell us more about that and how has this come to be your passion?
Okay, so yeah, the optimal state of flow, it was sort of something that I came into. So just a little background, I grew up performing, and performing is very similar to, and I was always singing, I was always in shows, very similar to athletes where you train, as opposed to practice, you rehearsal. And what eventually happens is you learn these, call it muscle burn, whether I was dancing or I was singing or I was acting, you learn these parts or whatever you're doing and they get into your body so much that we call it muscle memory. So say you're dancing, you remember it in the muscles. And what eventually happens is it's that sort of like that state of euphoria. And what I found when I was in college was that there were some days, because performing in college, there were some days where my performances were really good. And there were some days where I was in my body. There were some days when I was performing, but it was like what we call phoning it in. So I wasn't really like, I was in the part, but it wasn't in the way that I was the days before, where like I almost was entranced in my own body. So what I realized was, as I was rehearsing and in college, was that a lot of my performance that day had to do with what I was doing before and what I was thinking about before I got into the part. So just to go to the mind-body piece of that is I started to study it a little bit and understand as I was acting and I was talking to, you hear all these teachers telling you when you have to just release whatever is going on in your life to get into the part. And I was like, well, I need a little more background on that. Let me understand it better. So I got into the idea of, okay, so they're talking about not what happens while I'm practicing, but right before I go into rehearsal, what's going on in my head is actually affecting what's happening when I'm performing. Okay. And so that's what I got into the study of and I actually started practicing yoga too. And the idea that my thoughts, even, I won't go to anyone else yet, my thoughts were affected my performance and affected if like I was really able to release anything that was going on in my life beforehand when I was in that part. So today, and it transfers, I ended up doing later on, I did my master's in education, and I started to really study because I struggled with anxiety growing up. So I really started to study the effect of yoga to decrease high stakes test anxiety, because I was in school with kids and I said, I liked being the teacher who would take the kid in the hallway and help them calm down before a test. Like, I'd be teaching math or science and I'd be thinking to myself, God, I love being with the kids, or even the teachers. I would talk to the teachers, because when the teachers calm, the students are calm. It's an amazing effect. So that's when I really got into the fight or flight response of the body. And that's when I really, really got into that mind-body connection. And I was working with not only children, but parents and teachers too, and how the effect of how a teacher was and they walked into the room and how that transferred to the students. So that started as a long-winded answer, but it was sort of, in and out for me. And then finally in the last couple of years, I did a lot more and understood it a little better. But yeah, it's an amazing study. It's an amazing study.
Good. The internet, I don't know whether it's at your end or my end, but every now and then the internet is glitching. So you sound a little bit like an alien. But I got the general gist of everything you were saying. So I'm hoping that the people watching can do as well. Now, you really inspire me, because you sit here, and I've known you now for 6 months, and you're a very beautiful woman. And inside and out, and you kind of have it all together, and you're fit and you're well, and you prioritize your mental health and your physical health and your spiritual health. But I know from your journey that that's not at all how your journey has been. And actually, after you had all this kind of time performing and auditioning and everything, and then you hit rock bottom and you had all these destructive behaviors with drugs and alcohol. So basically at 23, you kind of had this realization that you needed help. And although I've never been addicted to drugs or alcohol, I have spent many years controlled by compulsive eating disorder. So I do understand that kind of mentality, and now I'm free from that. So I'm really interested if you would share with us, because I know that, anyone watching this video, but the mums in my membership group as well, everyone has kind of something that kind of has more control over them than they have over it, I think is perhaps, and it might be a bit. So in your situation, it was drugs and alcohol. In mine, it was food. But I realize as well, it can sometimes just be a behavior that has more control over you than you have over it, or a thought and things. Can you talk a little bit about this journey you went on that ended up at age 23, realizing you needed help, and what help you got, and then how you have taken that help to influence the way that you work now? Because I've been working with you as my coach, and you bring in elements of this journey that you went on. So I'd love you to talk more about that.
No. So, and I'm open about it. It's funny because when I was 23, I think the biggest thing, and I was doing a little research on anxiety in women, and we all have our things. Like I wasn't going in and out for you right now. Is it going in and out? Okay. If we need to, they will be gone soon. And once I go out there, there's no issues. I've got 3 businessmen out there right now. My boyfriend's probably scared to come in. So my addiction. And so when I was 23 years old, what was really interesting was I was drowning in drugs and alcohol. And we talk a lot, I was with kids my age, even though I was 23, we're still kids, I was out of college. All of my friends from in the States, what do you call it, university over there in England? Okay. So we had all just finished university. I had lived in New York City, and most of the kids that I grew up with all moved back to New York City. We live in this like, you know, so we call it the tri-state area. And so everybody kind of comes back no matter where they went to college. Some of them move and then come back. And one of the things that I found was every night that I was going out with my friends, we would sit down at dinner or wherever we were going, and everyone would start drinking. And every night I would say to myself, tonight is going to be different. Like, I'm not going to black out. I'm not going to text my ex-boyfriend. I'm not going to call my ex-boyfriend's mother at 3 a.m. Like, the shit that I did was, excuse my language, was like so ridiculous. And and this crazy part about it is I got so savvy to what I was doing. Like, I couldn't control it that night, but I knew the next morning that I didn't want the shame attached to some of the things that I did. So I'd actually delete text messages that I sent to people, like before the night was over, so I wouldn't have to look at them. So I sort of, and the reason the reason I start with humor with those things is because when we're talking about anything that is shameful, when someone comes at us, when I had people coming at me saying like, you know, they were concerned about me, but they didn't know how to handle it. And so they were saying, you know, you should just stop drinking. You should just, that word, like, you should just do this. And I wanted to be like, I fucking tried. Excuse my language. I really tried. You know, every night I would go out and I would want to be a normal drinker like my friends. I wasn't. And I think for all of us, like for me, that when I would go out at night, like that was my solution to all the anxiety that I had during the day. And so when we talk about food or anything else, I think the main piece a lot of the time is the shame attached to whatever we're doing to make ourselves feel better. And I don't think there should be any shame because I think everybody has their thing. And I think that one of my big things is the reason I decided to talk about my addiction was because when I was 23, there was nobody even close to my age who I heard who had dealt with it. And I so badly wanted to meet people who had been through what I had been through. So when it comes to the mind, body, and how I work now today with women is that, so I'm 6.5 years, and for me, before I could ever work with other women, I knew I had to work on myself. I had to figure out what was going on. And that's the funny thing is I had to figure it out, but I had to stop thinking and I had to start feeling. And I had to be okay with those feelings and okay being uncomfortable in those feelings because I was so used to pushing them away. So how this relates to other women and how it's important in our journeys is that each of us has our thing. I had one client, it was really funny. I would never mention her name, but we would talk about food. And her mother actually said to her once, food is your Elmo. And she goes, what do you mean? She goes, your son goes to Elmo every time he needs comfort. Food is the immediate Elmo for you. So it's that, what do we sort of use? And then, so it's always the thought that happens before we go to do something. Now, this being said, there are certain things, you know, when it comes to addiction or food, I don't necessarily believe we have control once you have that first drink or once you start to eat or once those thoughts come. So there's different philosophies out there. I'm not someone who thinks that willpower works necessarily if you have an addiction or if you have issues with the food, because I think then it's saying to us that we're doing something wrong because once you start, you can't stop. And so that's a whole nother bag of tricks, a whole nother discussion.
Yes.
But if we're going, that is a whole nother discussion. But I'm saying that now because I never want someone to come to me thinking I'm going to tell them that they're doing something wrong. All I will ever say with the mind bodies, I think I'm very big on surrender. The idea that I am the way right now, there's nothing wrong with me, but I can share my experience and I can share what's going on so I can then stop sort of living in that shame and trying to hide everything. And I think how this relates to mothers, and I will say this, I've never been a mother. I don't have children. However, I have worked with kids and it's very different. And I will never compare I will never be able to have that experience until I am a mother. So it's like someone coming to me and saying, well, why can't you just stop drinking? Or like, you know, and they've never had problems with alcohol. I'm like, I'm not going to, you know, like I get that. But however, the side that I can come from it is I have worked with families since I was, God, I don't know why people hired me at 12, but I babysat at 12 and I've worked with hundreds of families and children. I got my master's in education. You can come in, Steve. It's okay. Steve. master's in education. I worked with kids. So that's when I really experienced that, like the connection between the child and the anxiety. And I remember talking to parents, and here I am as a student teacher, and they're saying, you know, my kid did so much better on our math test today after they walked with you in the hall. And I'm thinking, holy moly. I'm like, it has nothing to do with how much the kid knows. It has nothing to do with how much we know as women about the food. We can have as much self-knowledge as possible. You can study for that test as much as you can. But if we're going in there having those thoughts about ourselves and those preconceived notions of like, well, I don't know this part, so that anxiety is going to start and that fight or flight is going to start to happen in the body. So for each of us to tie it to addiction, to tie it to anything else, food, it's the thoughts about what we do, not necessarily what we do, that makes us feel that way and has an effect on our future.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting, because I know for me with food, you know, I have spent years and years and years with so much shame and guilt and self-loathing and, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, at my worst, I was eating like 9,000 calories a day, and probably more actually some days. You know, I was pretty extreme, and spending £250 a week on food, which, you know, and this is nearly 20 years ago. So that was what, I don't know, maybe like in today's money, maybe $500 a week on food. It was quite scary. So, and yeah, and I think I got into that trap, the kind of the thoughts and the anxiety and the shame around it, and actually not feeling like I was okay, really actually feeling like I really wasn't okay, which then meant I didn't share it with anyone else. There was no way that I was able to surrender to anything, because I wasn't even willing to notice if there was anything to surrender to. So it's really interesting. So you are within the group when you come in as our guest expert, which happens to be next week actually.
So excited.
You are going to be spending 5 days exploring with these amazing mums that are in there, the mind-body connection for mums, which is movement, energy management, and meditation. So just share a little bit about what the mums can expect and what you hope they will kind of benefit from by joining you for this week.
Okay, so I'll start with the benefit. Just, I think it's so important, all the logistics. But what my hope is that every day, or if you have to look at whatever we're doing later because it's crazy, is that you have a place to come in and audibly breathe and say, I'm okay. And I'm okay. If you're not okay, you're saying, I'm okay not being okay. You can come exactly as you are, and you have that relief. There's a space to come to, and no matter what state you're in, if you're half dressed, your hair's in curlers, you've got coffee in your hand, or the coffee's on your shirt maybe, or the spinach's on your shirt, you know, and whatever. Go ahead.
I'm not sure how many mums bother to take the time to put their hair in curlers. I think.
Oh, there you go. See, that's like. I was just going to say, after I said that, I was like, who the fuck puts their hair in curlers? Excuse me. Who the heck puts their hair in curlers? Maybe my mother did. But the point being is, the picture I'm trying to paint is that you can come. I don't care what you look like, how you know what's going on. Just showing up, and even if you're not okay, that you have a space to come, that you feel safe. Okay, not being okay. I think that's the biggest thing. I think we have this idea of, my mother said it once, and just and this is how I want you to show up, is, you know, it's a very short story, but at 9/11, my neighborhood lost hundreds. We lost the most people pretty much in the entire country, other than New York City. And all these mothers, we were waiting to find dads, and all these mothers were, you know, they were all put together. And I went to the house with my mom, and one of my mom's friends, she looked so like she was just trying to hold on. And my mother looked at her and she goes, it's okay. She goes, it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel something and and be open about the way you feel, even if you think that feeling's not right, not whatever. So that's my hope for everyone, is that, and that was such a big, powerful point for me, because when we hold on to things, if we're anxious, if we are sad, whatever it is, it means that we're telling ourselves that our feelings are not okay, and feelings are always okay. And when we push feelings away, we usually manifest somewhere else. What you can expect when you come to the group is, I'm going to sing in the morning. So I don't know if you told you, I'm going to bring my guitar. You can listen. You don't have to listen. You can make your coffee, whatever you want to do. I'm going to bring the guitar, and I'm going to take some really nice acoustic songs to start off the day. And then, or to work with you guys. And then I'm going to just give you some very simple exercises you can do then, or you can do later in the day, whenever you have time. You can do it in a year if you have it, whatever works. That's the thing, is I'm very easy about that stuff. There's no shoulds. It's eventually you do these things and you want to start doing them. But we're going to do very simple 5-minute meditations. That, like, very simple, meaning like I'm going to tell you to close your eyes and you're going to sit there and breathe. There's no pretense. You don't have to set up any pillows. We're going to figure out, and I'm going to give you tools and tips to create things every single day, right then and there, that will allow you to breathe. That's my goal, to help you to breathe and release any sort of like pretense that, where you're going, I don't feel good, but I'm not sure why. So we're gonna dive into that a tiny bit, but very simple exercises and tips and tools. I'm all about getting immediate feedback. I want you, even if it means that you may not be okay, if it means that you go into meditation and you cry, but something's going on where the body releases. Because then we can deal with the mind.
Yeah.
We deal with the mind every day. So that, I have these exercises, and I also have all these things that I'm going to give you guys, like, readings and quotes and pieces, and everything that is nothing is required. Everything is for you if you want it, when you want it, if you need it, when you need it. And you can take it, you can leave it. I have no expectation of how much you should do, because life is crazy and there's a lot of shoulds out there. And so you're going to come, you can close your eyes, you can listen to my voice, and yes, we're going to do meditations. I'm going to give you some stretches. It's going to feel really good. And they're going to be stretches that you can do even sometimes, like, while you're holding a baby, if you have a baby in your arms. Remember that yoga, all of this, it is all, just so you know, yoga is breath. It all started with breath and meditation. Movement didn't come till thousands of years later. And it's only so we can get into meditation. So I'm going to give you stretches so you feel good. They're not going to make you feel bad about your body. They're not going to be like, oh God, I can't get into the stretch because I can't touch my toes. There's none of that. So it's all feel good. You're going to come and you can expect to feel good. And if you don't, it's okay.
Amazing. I am amazing. Come, feel good. There we go. And I mentioned earlier, I've been working with you as my coach, and yeah, I have loved the breathing and the stretching and, just the very gentle movement. And it's very profound how, just taking that time makes a difference. And I mean, it's one of the things that I do incorporate, with my coaching and the support of mums, is encouraging them to take that time. But you asked me to set an alarm twice a day, to take 10 breaths and do a minute of stretching. And what I noticed, that the first few times that alarm went off, was as I was taking these 10 breaths, that I had this anxiety that, like, I should be doing something, I'm wasting time, this is taking too long. And I was like, whoa, like, this is just 10 breaths. It's just 10 breaths. So it's really, I think it's a really wonderful thing that you're bringing. And I'm so glad that you are going to be singing to the group.
If anybody has like favorite songs or something too that evokes something for them, let me know. I'm happy to bring them.
Okay. Well, I will make sure that I put that out to the group in advance of next week, so that they get that opportunity. Amazing. So is there anything else that you would like to share about yourself or about what you're bringing to the group that you haven't shared yet?
Anything that I would like to share about myself with the group, just that, again, I will never say, and I think this is important because I think what I said it on a picture the other day. I was talking to someone through like social media, and they said, I'm so, impressed. And I was like surprised that you're willing to like share something, because I was upset about something, and it was more of an emotional, it was a sadness about something. And I said, I said, because when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, it's really fun. She already wrote, it's fine, go. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we actually create strength. So one of the things that I will say about myself is that by allowing myself to not be okay, I have found so much more strength, and I've relieved so much stress in my life. That's my puppy. And anything else to the group? No, just come. Don't worry about where you are. Come, collectively come, because when we don't allow ourselves to not be okay in life, it means we can never connect to anyone else, because who can connect to someone who's perfect?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's it. Come as you are.
Wonderful. I love that. Come as you are and come collectively. Just gorgeous. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for taking this time to let me interview you today. And it's been really wonderful, Mary. I so appreciate it.
I'm giving you a virtual hug.
Thank you. I speak to you
and one day next year I'll give you a real hug.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll speak to you soon.